It's a freaking pleasure, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the interest. It's been it's interesting to hear from people like you.
Well, thank you, man. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I've been a music guy, all my life, and out of the corner of my eye, at the peripheral, I've been a WWE fan as well. And it's sort of, you sort of bridge the worlds for me, you know what I mean? And I've always appreciated what I've heard you've created. And I think you're a great musician, and I really want the world to know about you.
Thank you. Boy, I appreciate that. It's an interesting situation because it's for numerous reasons. One, that a lot of the fan base knows about me, but the world doesn't know about me because Vince is the only TV entity, probably the only entertainment entity where credit and being known for what you do is such an important part of the whole occupational landscape, and Vince never gets credits. He's always been adamant he wants to give every single minute to the fans watching the show. So there's never been a credit roll in a WWE program. So I appreciate your help in getting the word out, but also it's in terms of your comment about the bridge. I hear that from so many people that there were fans back in the day, but for a long time in different ways. But what locked them in was the music, really, and I think that's because the music in all entities tells you what you're supposed to feel. It's in movies and TV. It's it's the old story. You can give me the scene shot with a guy and a girl hugging, and depending on what the music is, you can make it a love story, you can make it a sad story, one of them's about to die, or you can make it a horror film with someone's about to get stabbed, all with the same piece of film. And so I always felt like my job at WWE was scoring this big never-ending live film. And you just like in a film like Jaws, you got the da-da when the shark's coming. It's no different when Steve Austin is coming out or Undertaker. You want that vibe so that people know, like, holy crow, what's going to happen next, or like this is really creepy, or whatever the feeling's supposed to be. So, did you have a favorite period? Because I find people who are fans tend to have, certain periods when their interest was really peaked, and other times that didn't appeal to them as much.
I remember in the 80s I was a big fan, and then I stopped for a little bit, and then the Attitude Era is when I kicked in again. And I just sort of those two eras were real special to me because that pretty much is the soundtrack to my childhood. Those songs. And I remember, like, when I was a child, not even a child, probably like 11 or 12, I used to have like a tape recorder, like a portable one. And I would have to go to the library, and I would go on like a website, and I would record like Demolition off of the library speakers onto my tape recorder. And so I'd record like the old school songs, Demolition, Rick Rude, Jake the Snake. And I used to just listen to them in my room or right before I went to bed.
You mean just right off of TV, or
like an internet? Like back in 1995, 96, or 94, they didn't. It wasn't. They probably had 2 computers in the library, right? And like now they have 15, 20. But I remember I would sign up, and you'd only get 45-minute slots. And I would sign up, and I would just go to I don't even remember what website it was, and I would just play it off the speakers and then put my recorder right next to the speaker. It
was probably one of the guys who had a theme website.
Yeah, it's something like that. But I remember, because when you didn't, let's say Demolition, they weren't around for years, right?
Yeah.
But when you're a child, you remember dun 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 dun, and I needed to hear that again. Just for, I don't know why. Everything's so at the fingertips now. You know what I mean? You can hear
music
anything
is
you want.
Music in whatever way tends to be. We use it as a soundtrack to our own lives in so many ways, and in ways to either pump us up or to console us in hard times, and I think we all have some level of sentimentality about going back in time and getting those feelings again. And there's no better way to do that, or nothing does that like music
At all.
It can just take you right back. Sometimes take you back to good times, and sometimes take you back to bad times, but it's equally effective.
So you start your career. You always wanted, since you're a little kid, you were musically inclined, and I've heard in other interviews that you said it's equivalent of walking. It just came to you.
Yeah, the music thing certainly was something that was always there. It just resonated. I was just thinking the other day, something I've never told in an interview, is I remember, I don't know how young I was, but probably really young, probably 8 years old or something. And we went to my parents took my brother and sister and I to some amusement park. And we went on rides for a while, as long as my dad could stand it. And then we were leaving, and I heard music coming. And I said, "Can we just walk over here and see what's going on?" And there was this band playing. And it was the first time I'd ever seen a band. It's the first time, and heard people playing electric guitar, and eight probably, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 9 tops. And Tim, I was thinking of calling the police when my parents said we have to go. I mean, I was mesmerized, absolutely mesmerized. I can't tell you, it was like someone injected me with a drug or something. You talk about a change of state. They had they all had matching, really bright red costumes on, like they probably had sequins or something really reflective, like beads, and they were just playing straight ahead rock and roll. I don't even really remember. I don't remember anything about any particular song, but the emotional impact was extraordinary, really extraordinary. And I think that was one of the moments that secured the future for me, is that I never wanted to be on stage, but I wanted that feeling. I wanted that feeling again, and it was amazing.
Was this before or after you started your piano lessons?
Probably around around that same time, but it was also probably pointed out how different when you're that young, you just have these very uneducated, unsophisticated feelings about, you're just responding to what moved you. You don't know anything about it. But I guess that was the first time I really realized this is the music I want to be doing, or this is the way I want to feel when I'm playing music, versus here's how I feel at piano lessons. And there was a huge chasm between those two feelings.
And
it's interesting, despite that story about the horrible ending to my piano lessons, years later I came back around to piano, and it's my favorite instrument. So there is ultimately a happy ending to that story. And I still just adore playing piano and can sit down and just enjoy playing, just fidgeting for a long time.
And do you at this moment, like when you think and you go into your happy place with music, are you there with your piano or is it mostly guitar?
It's both, Tim. It's I've written a lot of guitar rock pieces on piano. It's just as far as an initial visualization of the thing. There's something about piano that a guitar is a guitar, and part of the inspiration, or at least for me, part of the inspiration I get from writing on guitar is literally not only the sound of a guitar, but that sound on a guitar. Like, is it if I'm playing an electric and it's got a pretty heavy distorted sound, then I'm just going to naturally start, the rock grooves are going to start coming. But with the piano, there's something about it. I could play some little figure, like lower figure, but I can still imagine it as a fuzz tone guitar part. It just allows more room for imagination. Whereas most instruments, I think, you hear that instrument. I mean, I also played trumpet when I was a kid in school bands and stuff like that. And, wow, you're playing a trumpet. It's a trumpet. That's kind of, perfectly fine instrument, but that's kind of the end of the story. It's a trumpet.
One of the biggest things that inspires me about you as an artist, and it lets me know that you are a special person to the earth, is you have a bunch of songs, right? Like, I'm just going to go through a couple of them. Broken Dreams, Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
The Baron Corbin. That song is so, like, I Feel the Fire or something like that.
Yeah.
That is such a great song. In like, if you, or Jinder Mahal, Ezekiel Jackson, With My Baby Tonight.
Yeah. I love that. That was written for my wife.
That one was?
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember singing that as a kid too. You know what I mean? Like, all of these songs you could have sold to pop music. You could have sold.
I know. It's frustrating because because Vince wants to hold on to them and doesn't allow them to get out there. Another one in a somewhat parallel fashion to what you're talking about that I simply don't get is I don't understand why, you name your sport, NBA, NFL, has not come with an open checkbook to the publishing arm of WWE and bought the rights to Triple H's The Game. I mean, the ultimate sports song. You get that big chord, at the beginning of the broadcast. It's like says it all about sports. It's all about confrontation. It's all about the game and how you play it. It's all about control, and I didn't write it about sports at all, but I guess maybe I did write it about sports because really it was
wrestling.
Not even about wrestling, but it was. I was just thinking about. Hunter had taken up the game as his sort of nickname or whatever you'd like to call it, your superstar name, and so I was thinking about aggressive games. I guess hindsight, I don't really feel like I was thinking about football or basketball, but ultimately
it's a great song for any sport.
Yeah, it would just work. I don't. And I hear songs that they do use and license, and I think, like, okay, it's okay, but it's more just a generic upbeat, trying to make it sound like, okay, we're going to have a really exciting event here tonight. So it's a weird deal.
In all these songs that I named earlier, you got country music, everything, melancholy, alternative, metal, Jinder Mahal. I don't know what you would call that. Maybe international.
World.
Yeah. Ezekiel Jackson rap. And you are one man. And for you to that right there, just these group of songs that I named, like, how do you become so versatile? Because do you listen to other kinds of music on a constant to get ideas? Because, I mean, rap to world to metal.
I rarely listen. Well, to my great frustration, I rarely listen to music, and it's almost humorous. Well, it hasn't happened for years because all my friends stopped asking a long time ago. Doing what I do, they would always think, okay, oh well, Jim, what are you listening to? Because you're in the thick of it. You must know what's really cool, what's really hot.
That's what I thought too.
And it's like I have absolutely no clue. And they would say like, "Oh, did you hear this new CD by this band?" Whomever. And I would say, "No. Not only did I not hear the CD, I've never heard of the band. It's because I was so constantly and intensely working on all the stuff for WWE." That I never had time, even in my car driving home or something, I'd be listening to rough mixes of whatever I was working on at the time.
Jeez.
So
I think do you think that there's something unlocked in your brain or maybe your connection to the spiritual, side of the world that allows things to be so, easy for you or to for it to unlock a song, for your brain to unlock a song?
Like, do you do any kind of meditation? I'm sorry, what was the last thing?
Do you do any kind of meditations?
I don't. I probably my wife has tried to get me to do some just because I can be a little intense, and she's thought that maybe it would bring me some calm and peace at times. I've tried it a few times, sit down, try to get to this very homey place, but my mind is just jumping all over the planet, and I'm thinking about all these other things, so it makes it a little tough. But I do believe in what I call the conduit theory. Yes, I'm a very spiritual guy, believe in God, and that I don't really believe it's so much a gift that is about me as much as I just got lucky to be a conduit. And part of composing is really like a faith issue. Of you sit down and you pick up a guitar, and if I keep playing long enough, I'll get an idea. And generally, I don't have to play very long. The same on the piano, and and in the rare times that I've gone through very thankfully very short periods of feeling like I'm not coming up with a good idea, if I'll do my part of the bargain and just sit there and keep playing, then suddenly out of the blue just something comes. And over the years I've just had too many really nearly spooky experiences of sitting down and playing a pretty close to the finished song, just playing it as if I already knew the song.
It's like the 5-minute rule. I interview hundreds of musicians a year, right? And anywhere from the Deftones to Chuck D, and every single person I've talked to, they say, yeah, their number one hit, it's within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that with you as well?
Yeah. The good ones come naturally and come fast. If there really is something to be said for, if you're really having to work on it, there might be something fundamentally off. To your point, I read an interview with Elton John once, who the way he wrote is his lyricist Bernie Taupin, who never gets the credit he deserves for the unbelievable lyrics that he had written for so many songs, would just hand Elton try this. Here's some lyrics. And Elton would say if he couldn't come up with the song within, I think it was 30 minutes, he said, then he dumped it. He moved on. That's not to say that he probably didn't come back to it at some point, but he figured if something didn't click, if something inspirational didn't happen in that amount of time, then then something's wrong. Either I'm in a bad mood, or that nothing is resonating with these lyrics inside of me. But I think there's a lot to be said for your 5-minute rule notion, and but that's cool to hear that you've heard it from a lot of different people.
Yeah. Another question. When let's just, in the years, 97, 96, when there was the WCW versus WWF, did WCW ever reach out to you?
No.
Oh, man.
No, I think, they were, for numerous reasons. One, probably, some just basic legal reasons of you don't want to get caught doing something shaky that someone could blow up into, you're unethical. And I think their whole music vibe, I think, is ultimately one of the things that prevented them from winning that war, really.
Exactly, yes.
They used, and amazingly didn't get sued, but they used a lot of mainstream music. But and I was very much against that when we did that, when we started doing that for like pay-per-view themes and stuff, because on one hand, yes, it makes your product seem bigger. You're using Highway to Hell and this makes it seem like a. Unfortunately, the negative is that music has emotional connections with people having nothing to do with WWE. Mm-hmm. It means that when they hear that, they're taken out. It's like you're sitting in a movie theater and a song comes on, and that was the song that was playing in your car the night you were driving away when your girlfriend broke up with you or something. So it carries all that baggage, whereas original music, Undertaker walks out, you're only thinking about Undertaker. Yeah. And that moment, you're fully invested in that moment, in that storyline, in that movie, and also I think it raises the level of the talent a lot, because it makes them feel powerful and unique, and that I'm the Undertaker. That helps my belief get into that character all the more. That translates to them doing a better performance. That translates to pumping up the crowd that's in the arena more. Their energy comes out of the TV screen even more to the people at home, making, that sense of like, wow, it'd be so cool to be there ringside, and it's a building momentum. I'm just such a believer in the power of music. Has obvious powers, but it also has kind of subtext powers that are maybe even more powerful.
How did you feel when they used Limp Bizkit for The Undertaker? Did you think that was a smart move, or did you think that, like, let's try something else, or did I think I understood that at least to the degree I understand the story, is that Undertaker had been doing, the same basic thing for many, many years, and he just wanted a change of pace and do this motorcycle thing. And I got that part, and that was a great song. There's a great band that did a lot of great rock music, and so if they were going to go that direction, probably a good hookup. Would not have been, again, relative to using
mainstream music versus original music. Another point on that, Tim, which is interesting, is in advertising, about the power of association with, what I'm calling mainstream music, which is probably denigrating my own music by implying somehow it's not mainstream music, but songs chosen for advertisements. Those songs are chosen specifically because music is so powerful. They want to take what they're speculating the emotions are. An overt example is like truck commercials. Like a rock.
That's how I remember that song now.
The Bob Seger song.
Yeah.
It's like manly, and it's got big balls, and it says like, man, if you drive this truck, you buy this Ford F-150, man, you are a cool guy and a really strong guy, and you probably get a lot of women. And so guys go out and buy, like, I'll take the F-150, please, because that makes them feel good, that they're kind of associated with that vibe. So I'm a big fan of original music.
What are you looking for to do now? Do you have any offers on the table?
Oh my God, this just happened, so I'm just getting used to this new life. One thing I can tell you that has happened is relative to the last few years at WWE being pretty embroiled in a lot of politics, or at least negative politics for me. Mm-hmm. Being out and just stuff that I've written in the last month has completely gotten me much more clearly back into how much I love music and the thrill of writing stuff and the thrill of just recording ideas and getting them down and following them through, and also being, when I'm working on a song versus a piece of orchestral music, like film kind of music, being able to have the lyrics go wherever I want versus the vast majority of time, I had to steer lyrics, obviously, to, kind of anger, ticking time bomb type stuff, which is, I think, why many times my music was well received, because I tried to keep away from that as much as possible, or at least couch it. I'll give you an example. When I would work on rap things, and when I'd work with the rapper, I quickly learned that how I had to do that was to give them a set of lyrics that really told the story I wanted to tell, and then they would have to spin it around their own way, because that's just part of the whole hip-hop thing, that whether they actually do or not, everyone perceives that they have their own flow, their own style of...
And you're not a hip-hop guy, right?
Rap. I'm not a hip-hop guy. No.
Okay, how do you know if it's good or not? Like, I obviously you do, but like... When you're telling this guy, this rapper, you're picking a guy to sing the song. You're saying, well, like Domination, Ezekiel Jackson. You're like, well, this guy, he's saying he's the best, and then they spin it, and you're like, yep, that's it, without even being a fan of the music. That just blows my mind.
Well, I can enjoy music that I don't know if it's that I don't like, but maybe I don't understand. I think part of the hip hop thing is I get really frustrated and thrown by a lot of the real coarse negativity and just gratuitous sexuality of it all. It just seems unnecessary. It feels much more like someone doesn't really have something broader to say, so that, you talk about these very typical lyric categories. One thing I love about Eminem's music is he can be very comical. He takes rap and makes it storytelling.
Yes.
Where he'll tell stories about his life. Linkin Park, I always admired a lot of their rock rap stuff because it was, even though it was very aggressive, it sort of spoke to issues young kids going through of feeling, alienated socially and feeling like an outcast and feeling angry about it and what the hell can I do about it? I like lyrics that speak to deeper issues that maybe help people resolve things. But long tangent around, going back to your point, how do I know if it sounds good? I love all sorts of music. I don't hate hip hop. It's just, I would say, as a genre, I like a much less percentage of it globally than maybe other forms. But I listen to the tone and timbre of someone's voice. There's a lot to hip hop that has to do with, does the guy or girl just have a good sort of fun, attractive sounding voice that is just inherently, before you even get to what they're rapping, is it just cool to listen to their voice, the sound and how they say words,
the cadence,
everything about their whole flow, just the sound of their voice. It's people, I think, make a big mistake by saying, well, they're not even singing. Well, it's incredibly close to singing. It's you get back to the old story about, well, Bob Dylan has a crappy voice. Well, from one very narrow definition of good and bad voices, he probably has a less than ideal voice. Yet he has a lovely voice in terms of it's infectious. There's something about it that you can't not listen to what the guy's singing about. It just draws you in.
In the big part of music right now,
Tom Waits. You go down those. There are a lot of people who have unusual voices, but they're incredibly attractive. So it's the same thing in hip hop, I believe.
In Bobby Dylan, he will not. If he was around nowadays and he went on American Idol, they just won't, because the music business nowadays is just it's
fluff.
All they do is push something through the machine that they know will sell, and we've lost track of actual art. And that's what we're trying to do. This is like our motto for the business that we're running, is to try to save music, because it's not music anymore. It's more of programming. And
I agree. It's become a commodity.
Yes.
And that's I literally, Tim, could not agree more with you. And that's part of what has saddened me with WWE over the past few years, that I've said before, is that the music has become a commodity. I don't feel like the themes have anything in particular to do with the character anymore. They're not scoring the film anymore. For me. They're not. I don't hear the music. I mean, most of the time when I would hear music over the past few years, I wouldn't even know who's coming out. I don't know who the character is. And I think that applies to music in a broad scope too. Just as you've said, it kind of doesn't mean anything. It's something to listen to. It lasts for a couple of weeks, and then it's replaced by the next thing. Mm-hmm. But it's certainly not speaking to kids. What I think kids today are missing, unfortunately, that they probably don't even know they're missing, is having music be like you said earlier, the soundtrack of your life. It's where it matters, and you're listening to the music in terms of not just it's fun to listen to or something, but that the lyrics speak to you, and you hear a song. I think that's why someone like Adele, who, just like you were saying about Bob Dylan, would never make it on The Voice. I couldn't, if I was a promoter, I'd have a tough time selling Adele on the surface. I'd have, I go in someone's office. I've got this girl. She's great. You got to hear. Yeah. You got some pictures. Well, she's attractive. She's attractive. She's is she, really young and hot? Well, she's not that young.
She has a good voice.
And she's attractive. But you get where they're going, and so it's sort of R&B dance, popular stuff that I can sell. Well, no, actually, she basically just sings with piano and a little bit of production. I'll get kicked out of the guy's office. And yet when people hear her music, obviously it cuts them to their core, and people are like, wow, that happened to me. What she's singing about my life, and now it matters. So music has to matter for people to really care about it.
You had mentioned the new music. My child, he's now into wrestling. And I do hear what you're saying, and in preparing for this interview, I tried to wrap my head around the whole situation, what's happening, and I did a little research, and listening to the new music that you hear for the superstars, you're 100% right. They're 30-second loops over and over again, and then it seems like what they're doing is, just for me,
yep.
that these people, they're trying to create a mood inside the arena, like in the indie places, instead of creating a superstar. And I guess that's my thing. Is it that they are confident with NXT creating superstars, and they're trying to create moods now for the arena, or is it just the easy way out?
I honestly don't know what the backroom thinking is, because I was never really part of that. I think when it started off, the NXT thing was really cool and fun because it was very different than the flagship shows, Raw and SmackDown. It was, obviously a very small audience. And it wasn't taking themselves too seriously. It was like, we're going to have some fun.
Yeah.
So you have kind of very quirky themes, with largely very quirky, over the top characters. And in that smaller environment, I think that really works. But now you blow that up to this international television audience that dwarfs however many people are in even the largest hall. There has to be something bigger at play. There has to be some more universal themes, not themes in terms of wrestling themes, but universal subjective themes, and that play out and resonate with this gigantic audience that WWE has. So it's, hey, but not my company, not my business. So it's their call. I hope it works out.
Yeah, me too. Jim, what is your plans now? You've worked for one company for 30 some years, and you've been, you've touched the hearts of many a fan. You've created many of hits. What do you want to do? What's your dream? What's your goal right now?
Well, thank you for asking. there are many things I want to do, and I'm starting to do. I am in no particular, well, I guess in a particular order. I want to score stuff for film and television because more traditional orchestral type, basically, or say it, not sometimes synth-based as well, but it's what, curiously, people know the least about me, but it's also what I think I absolutely do best. So that I'm trying to figure out how to get my name and reputation out to the people who are hiring people to write scores for TV and film. And then on the other side, I grew up with country music, and I've written a lot of country songs, and I'm trying to figure out how to get those to performers in the country market who don't write their own material. And so there, I haven't found it yet because, as I said, this is all new, and I'm just starting the process. But I'm just figuring that, like in the global country music market, there have to be some of these artists who know my work from WWE and aren't even aware that they know my work from WWE, and so so that would be a good starting point to try to find those folks. But so it's just a interesting. It's like starting a brand new career, but it's pretty exciting. You know, it's a little scary, but it's overall it's exciting. And I'm as I said, more than anything, it's so great just to get that feeling of how much I love music and how much I love writing it.
Do you know who PJ Bloom is?
Do I know? Say the name again.
His name's PJ Bloom.
I don't.
He's the #1 song placement guy. I mean, on the West Coast. If you don't mind, I can hand him over your information.
Oh my God, I'd love it.
I mean, you'd be cool with that.
Hey, I am. Along with not thinking everything I've accomplished is because of wonderful me. That I start bigger picture and there's a little greater amount of humility in it. All along with that, I am. I know that all of us need help in this life, and right now I'm reaching out to anyone I know who can, just. And I'm comfortable with that because I do have the faith that I can help them make their projects better, or I can write songs that will be a hit for you and make you a bigger star. I would be much more uncomfortable doing that if I thought I couldn't contribute something.
Definitely you can.
To make their lives better, to make their businesses better, to make their film better. I know I can do that, but it's getting to those people, and how many times in all of our lives do we discover something through pure happenstance, and I'm not talking about just music now, but anything, it's like you never even heard of it or thought about it, and coincidentally some friend takes you fly fishing, and it ends up becoming the absolute love of your life, and it's because you just didn't really know it existed. And so a lot of that is it's about getting the word out. There's a little bit of a weirdness in my situation because if people are not aware of WWE or never went through any part of their life where they were even a little bit of a fan, and then you get this resume on your desk or something, it's like, oh, well, this is the guy who did all that stuff for WWE. I think there are a lot of immediate conclusions that can be jumped to that are wrong, that would be like, oh, well, then he must be a heavy metal only guy. And relative to what you mentioned earlier, I'm absolutely not a heavy metal only guy. But we all can only react to things with what we know, and if we don't know the whole story, it's tough. So yep. Hey, my God, let him know. Love it.
All right. Yeah. What he does is he places commercials. He places for video games, movies, songs for movies. And we're working with him. And this is part of our, let's try to change music campaign with, I work with a lot of local talent. I have a radio show that
what kind of radio show do you do?
I am on an FM show in Santa Barbara, and then I do an online show out of my garage. Like I literally built a studio out of my garage.
Really?
Yes.
Great.
And
some of the greatest things ever, music and technology, came out of garages.
And that's what we do. We search for music, and our town is it's saturated with great music. And that's what we're up to. All we're trying to do is keep music alive for as long as we can.
Well, God bless you, because to get back to the music versus now it's become so much about the spectacle, and along with that, relative to your asking what I want to do next, one of the challenges that I'm seeing clearly is. So much of what people are, or of the people who are succeeding in music now, it's because they're the best self-promoters of themselves and what they're doing.
Yes.
And the sort of, my experience at least, has been that people who are more sort of serious about the art and the music, they tend to be horrible self-promoters, and because
I've noticed that too.
It comes with a great amount of, I think, inherent insecurity and a shyness, that both of which are things that do not lend themselves to self-promotion. I mean, I know it in my life. I'm pathetic. I mean, it's just because it just makes me. Yeah, it brings up every insecurity. It makes me embarrassed, to promote yourself, because it feels like you're bragging on yourself, and that just seems counterintuitive to me. But you have to get the word out there somehow. So.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
Excuse me?
Do you have a YouTube channel?
I don't yet. Oh my God, it's so pathetic. I was never a social media guy, but now I've started. I'm scratching the surface. I've now got a LinkedIn account, and that's sort of interesting as I get to figure it out. I'm building a website. And that'll be interesting. The place to, put some music up, and hopefully people can get a taste for what I'm doing next. You tell me, what is a YouTube channel?
All right. Well, this is how I would imagine it, right? You have a legion of people who love you. I mean, that's just what it is. We'll call a spade here. And of course, they would love to know what you're doing. They would love to be kept in contact, with you, and to see what's going on. So, I mean, I'm just thinking of other songs. Like, just if you were to put up a video, just of you maybe jamming away, or not even saying nothing, and just, have the camera focus in on your fingers when you're playing guitar, or when you're playing the piano, or even put up different songs, and you put that up on a YouTube channel, and people, they're going to look you up. If you look on YouTube, there's not a lot of things with you on it. So of course, you can just kill that market, and you can even get paid for it. I mean, one of your videos, I can imagine, can be 100, 200,000 people listening to it. And it's pretty decent money for just messing around, And other people will be able to see you. And then that will get shared on other people's social media. And then that will get, shared on another person's social media until somebody that, might be in a higher position will see you and say, hey, I want this guy for my project.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a way of promoting without promoting, without feeling like you're whoring yourself out.
Yes. Okay. I will look into that.
Yeah.
Good tip.
No, that's what we do. That's what I do. Like I think of ways to how do I promote music, and that is always like one of the best advices one of the advice I give to the local bands in our area is you have to be local, or you have to put yourself out there. Other people have to see you. They can't just hear.
Well, yeah. I mean, it really is. It does, in fact, come down to that simple a notion is people can't get excited about what they don't know exists. You got to get the word out somehow. So, yes, and that's what I was going for with the website is, have on the website, just start putting up some stuff I'm writing now, whether it's for something or not for something, but just to have it so people who are interested can kind of check out, like, hey, I wrote this here's a demo of something I wrote last week.
Yes. And that would be perfect. What you can do on your website is you can put it on YouTube, and then you can put the link onto your website. And any person that listens to that, you would be able to get any sort of residual money or monetization from YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easier for people to share on social media. So if it's just on
meaning because YouTube is so ubiquitous and everybody goes there, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. And let's say you have 50 videos up, people are going to once they look Jim Johnston and see you are actually putting up videos, then they'll go, oh, Jim Johnston, oh, the next one, and you find yourself caught in this hole where you're constantly you're sitting there for 2.5 hours watching YouTube videos.
Wow. Okay, I will look into that.
Yeah, Jim, anytime if you ever need help, I'm not looking for anything. Like, you've made my life. I have 5 interviews I want to do in my life, and you are the number 2 interview that I wanted to do, and like, this is a dream come true to me. Like, I will never be able to forget this. I will never be able to repay you for this. Like,
oh my God, no!
And
no, you with the one introduction that you already offered, it's more than paid back, and you don't even have to do that. But no, I really appreciate the offer, Tim. It's great. You know what? Do I have your email?
Yes.
I was going to shoot you something, sort of a film piece that I've just finished a while ago, and let you hear that just for the heck of it.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
So you can get a sense of where I'm going on that side of things.
For sure.
So if you're any film guys.
I'll write you back the email, and I'll say, hey, Jim, it's me. I'll also give you some, I have some links that can help you as a musician. Make sure you sign up into this, sign up into that. Just easy things that would get your name out there.
Great.
Okay.
Great. What's the name of this guy again that you said?
His name's PJ Bloom.
PJ Bloom. And this is someone who's been doing this a long time and is really well respected, sounds like?
Yes. He's probably the number 1 or 2 placement guy in Southern California for song placements. No Cover Magazine, my magazine, has been around for 20 years. And in 1990, I would say maybe 2000, PJ was a writer for No Cover. And
really?
Yes. And after
the world is small.
So small, yes. After he leaves No Cover, he ends up being this big dude. And so we reach out to him probably a year ago and said, hey, PJ, we're going to put a website together that's helping local music. So we're going to have everybody in our area will make a profile, or they're making profiles for nocover.com. And PJ he has access to No Cover, and he'll go through once a quarter and listen to all the songs. And if he hears a song that he likes, that he knows he can push, then he will take that song and push it, therefore helping real musicians and helping our community.
Wow. Tim, it's so cool that you're doing this altruistic for the life of music thing.
And we don't get no money from this shit either. I'm just telling you, there's no money in music no more. It's just out of the love of, for music, and music's done for me, so I need to do for it.
That's cool. Very cool. Go ahead.
I just got a couple more questions.
No, go.
Go. Tie you up. All right.
No.
Who's your favorite? Do you still seek music out? I know when we were kids, it was like, we got to find more music. I love this music, and I would go to record stores and I would sit there for hours just listening to music, or I would save up, my allowance for 2 weeks to buy a CD, to seek music. Is that still inside of you?
It is, but relative to timing, I think the way it plays out most frequently for me is I'll hear something playing in the background on TV or something like that, and I'll get my oh my God, what's the Shazam out?
Yeah, Shazam.
And identify it, and then go into iTunes and grab it and listen to more stuff by that artist. And that, yes, I love checking stuff like that out, and then from there, you can on iTunes and everywhere else now you get the people who like this also like that, and listen to related stuff. And it's particularly interesting when it's something that someone I've never even heard of, but a style I've never heard of that just moved me in some way. And yes, so in terms of all the way over to, do I just log into iTunes or something and just start poking around and listening? Just from a timing standpoint, I don't get enough time to do that. Once I go buy something on iTunes, I generally get hooked, as they're thrilled to have me be hooked.
Yeah.
And hang around for a while, and we'll check out some stuff. So, yeah. And, of course, the kind of demise of record shops makes, iTunes is the record shop now. So, but it's cool to poke around and check out all the stuff on there.
Yes.
Well, and relative, looping to what we said earlier, though, to the commoditization of music, I am frequently how, and maybe this is all, to be fair, maybe this has always been the case, but it just, I'm more aware of it now. How much of it, all sounds the same, or it's like, I'll be surprised by, this is like a really popular song, but I just don't get it. It's like, I just don't get it. I mean, it just seems like a really mediocre song to me. The music seems nothing to light you up, and the lyrics seem typical, and it doesn't seem to have any infectious thing. It just seems to be something of the moment, I guess. I don't know.
Are you done performing, like on stage?
Oh my God! Well, I don't know if I ever started, Tim.
I saw you one time at a WrestleMania playing to the speaker.
Well, yeah. One time I played. What's interesting with the stage fright thing? I found that I played with what we called the DX band at Boston Garden. It was. Interestingly, I found when it's that many people in the audience, it becomes I felt like, I guess I was so overwhelmingly small and inconsequential relative to the crowd, the size and intensity of the crowd, that I felt like I kind of disappeared, and I was over it for a very short, 15 minutes there. But playing some, like going to an open mic or something, still just terrifies me. Terrifies me. I literally have a physical nervous reaction right now by just saying those words out loud.
Oh my God, Jim. You're such a humble, great guy.
But on that kind of stuff, it's not trying to be humble. It truly scares the shit out of me. I mean, as I've said in other interviews, I literally have to kind of work myself up to play a new song for my wife. I'll hem and haw and make, okay, well, so, honey, it's not completely done yet. And the chorus part, I'm just going to sing the first part because I haven't written the second part, but, so bear with me. It's like a million excuses. Just like, shut up and play the song.
What do you think it is? Where do you think it stems from?
Hey, Tim, it's such a great and obvious question. And I don't know. I don't, I guess for all of us, if we knew the root of our problem, maybe that, or you would think logically, that would make it easier to solve it. It isn't like I don't recall from my childhood any heinous experience of, getting up in front of the class and being booed out of the classroom or something. It was just so humiliating it ruined me for the rest of my life. I think it's just I guess it's just not my thing. There are people who, you go all the way to the other extreme, is where Michael Jackson, you have this poor kid who's almost utterly dysfunctional, that he can barely live his life. Well, it turned out in the end he couldn't live his life, and yet put him on the stage, and when the music hits and the lights go on, my God in heaven. I mean, that guy, he became the most powerful man in the world. I mean, it was the most amazing thing, unimaginable. I just sit there and watch how he could dance and sing and perform and just go into these different worlds with each different song. And it was amazing. We lost such a talent when he died. It was really sad. But that kind of thing, that I remember one time I played, got together with some friends who encouraged me, like, let's, there was a nice sort of club near our town, and we decided, we're going to do just a one-time concert, play 10 songs, something. And there was a little bit of time during that everything was going well. It was sounding good. Sound system sounded good. Crowd was in a good mood. And mainly the crowd was all my friends, or at least acquaintances and people I knew. I had just a little of that touch of, like, wow, this is really cool. This is a cool feeling when it works like this, and you can get carried away into it. But it was really a one-time thing. I don't know, Tim. Who knows? Maybe it's like everything else. If you do it more often, you get muscle memory for it, and it becomes less threatening. But I'm not there yet. That's for sure.
All right. I have three more questions for you.
Okay.
Was it hard when the WCW guys came in, workload wise? And do you feel that you were given the appropriate amount of time to work on everyone's theme? Because it happened so fast.
Well, a number of, well, actually not that many kept their themes, but I guess WWE is always, the culture of WWE, in my opinion, always moves too fast. I always I've always thought that everything would be better if it was a little, if there was a more prudent timing and planning. But at the same time, there is a magical energy sometimes to having to do things that you don't think you can do, but there were certainly other times I remember where the timing of having to produce music really, really fast was worse than the WCW infusion days.
Like when?
I think the toughest on me was when we were doing the WBF, the World Bodybuilding Federation, and so I just was inundated kind of at the last minute when everyone had decided where this thing was going and how it was going to be presented, and kind of characters were established, and then we knew. Once the character's established, you can start putting music together. And looking back on that seemed like just a, just one of those. I'm sleeping 2 hours a night, and just a constant battle trying to get everything put together in time for the show.
How many, I just accidentally found this piece out, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Ernest the Cat Miller and Brodus Clay have the same theme song. How did that work? And was there ever situations where you had like a superstar who messed up and they were not with the company no more and you guys recycled a song?
Oh, yeah, things have been... Kurt Angle's theme was originally for some other guy. I've forgotten.
Is that Del Wilkes?
I don't remember, but maybe called The Patriot or something like that?
Yeah, The Patriot. Yeah, Del Wilkes.
And so that was written back then, and then Kurt Angle came on the scene, and
whose idea is it to
recycle?
Yeah.
I think it. I would say, generally speaking, it's. Well, I don't know because I'm not that process. It's.
So would they come to you and say, "Hey, we have people here"?
No, very rarely did that happen. Occasionally it would be, "Hey, do you have anything laying around? We've got a new guy who's coming in, and we need something, literally in the next 5 minutes." So, but those kind of things often happened. The night of the event when someone's suddenly going to debut, and Kevin Dunn, the executive producer, would probably make that decision in the truck that night. So. And other times it probably is more thought out. I don't know. I just, for the most part, wasn't part of that process. So I don't really know how it worked most of the time.
How are your kids? Is any of your kids into music? Is that something you share with them?
Not particularly.
No.
Not a major factor.
Nice.
Yours?
Go ahead.
You said your kid plays?
No, my son, he plays football. He likes music though. Me and my son, that's one of the things we have in common, and we always put, in the past couple of years, he has my phone and he'll just go on YouTube and play theme songs, right? Uh-huh. And anytime it's not you, he always goes, "Nope, not this one, huh?" Not this one, Dad. And it's cool because he tells me, like, I ask him, hey, who's your favorite musician? He goes, Jim Johnston. Jim Johnston. And it was like, he was like, oh, Dad, you got to tell him that Julian Amoroso loves him. Like, I told him, it was a big deal between me and him. You know, I came home after I got the confirmation on Friday, and I said, Jules, the biggest thing in the world happened today. And he was like, what? I was like, Jim Johnston's gonna, he said that we can interview him. And he was like, you're lying. He would never say that. And then I had to open my emails and show him.
Don't you love when kids say something so loving to their parents, which basically implies, Dad, he would never give an interview to someone as cool as you.
Asshole.
He's only going to go on the Today Show. I mean, come on. Don't lie to your own son. My God, have some class. Well, you can tell him that you are much cooler than he yet knows.
Well, that's hopeful.
Yeah.
My last question for you, Jim, is what have you learned? What have you learned through your 30-year journey? What have you learned through for other musicians? In the music business, like if you had to give one piece of advice that people know you for forever and ever, like Einstein and his theory of relativity, what would you say? Because you're one of the few brilliant minds of music left on Earth, and eventually, we're gonna want to know what was in your head. What would you say?
Well, I can't. But hitting the what to me are the obvious high points are always try to do the right thing. It will serve you. It'll be the most selfish thing you can do because it will serve you best in the end, even though you might want to do something different for what you perceive as a short-term gain. The short-term gain won't be worth it. Work really hard because anything worth doing will not come that easily. It'll be hard, and it is the reason that few people become really successful at what they want to do. Always do your best to take the high road, because if there's just no winning to get down in the dirt with someone. You're just going to get dirty yourself, and you'll feel bad about it later. It's best to just try to hold your head high and just walk away from the trouble, and don't trash people. There's nothing to be gained, and I guess it's the last one that. Sorry, give me a second.
No problem.
Well, it went in and out of my head. But
it happens to all of us.
I think it's just really comes down to just don't try to be a good person. Be a good person. Try to help other people when you can and when they need help, and it will pay huge dividends to yourself if just being a good person to those around you, because it will come back on you manyfold, whereas being an asshole will come back on you almost immediately in negative ways, and you will live a life of one-time deals with people because they just won't want to do business with you again. And that means in a business standpoint, it also means in a friendship and relationship standpoint that, hey, I thought he was a good guy and he turned out to be an idiot. It's just no upside. It's curious that the things that so many people don't want to do because they feel like it's kind of giving away their power or something are, in fact, at the end of the day, the most selfish thing you could possibly do for yourself, because it will just bring you good energy, and it will your life will gravitate to other good people. It's just the way the world works. And if you act like an idiot, the world's energy is going to draw you to other idiots.
Ain't that true?
Yeah, and there are plenty to be drawn to. So,
true.
To avoid them. Yeah.
Well, Jim, I just want to say thank you. Thank you.
Oh
for
my
the
God!
time.
Thank you. It's been just really, some interviews feel like an interview. This feels like just a nice chat, getting to know someone. So it's been a treat. Thank you very much. Thanks for asking.
Well,
and
thank you.
Get me your email. I want to send you this piece. See what you think of that.
All
even
right.
though it may be the kind of stuff you're typically listening to, or the kind of stuff you associate with me. And I appreciate the PJ Bloom introduction. That would be great. I'd love to meet him.
All right. Well, this week I will. I'll set up the introduction, and I'll send him your stuff. If there's ever anything you need, if you have any questions or need help marketing, I will do whatever it takes to help you.
Oh my God, Tim, I really appreciate that. And
no problem.
You know what makes me most appreciate it is that, oftentimes people will say stuff like that, but I just hear in your voice that you actually mean it. And just that alone is really incredibly nice, and it's not something that happens a lot. So I'm very grateful. It's very nice to hear.
Well, and I want you to know that I love you and thank you for what my life wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for you.
Oh my God! Oh, that's embarrassingly above my pay grade to be there. But hey, thanks for asking me for the interview. And if there's anything more you need, just reach out. Okay.
Will do. Thank you very much, buddy. And I wish you all the luck. And I'll write you an email within the next hour.
Great. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Thank you, bud. Bye-bye. 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 Bud.